Imagine living life in a constant state of red alert, as every sight, sound, and sensation around you can assail you more powerfully than any torpedo blast ever could, photon or quantum. Yet, you soldier on. Every day is its own unique away mission in which you go out and explore a strange new world. And the strangest thing about it is, the world you're exploring is your own. And yet, as you are interacting with the indigenous people of this planet, something feels wrong. There's something wrong with your universal translator. It's only picking up about 1 out of every 50th word. Therefore, you follow the prime directive. Non-interference. After all, speaking a language you don't know can cause scorn, and coming into contact with anything you don't know could be more painful than assimilation itself. I am Captain Kanaka, the Trek historian, and I would like to spend this video explaining my unique relationship with Star Trek and how it has empowered my life on the autistic spectrum. I was formally diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome by the time I was 4 years old, and at that time, I wasn't really verbal. Words made about as much sense to me as whatever those sounds the tribbles make, and any change to the routine I set up for myself was as apocalyptic as a Borg invasion. Many experts said because of the severity of my condition, I would be institutionalized by the time I was 14. When my grandfather heard my diagnosis, he went right to work. As a former representative for the great state of Hawaii, he had many connections, so the first phone call he made was to the Honolulu Diocese. When I turned 16 and learned about my diagnosis, I also learned that for an entire year, every monastery and nunnery in the Pacific lit a candle for my recovery. The interesting thing about this is, the greatest help that I got did not come from therapists, it did not come from experts, but instead it came from a crew from the 24th century boldly going where no one had gone before. Star Trek The Next Generation premiered at a pivotal part in my life. It was my mom's favorite television show, and it helped me give the foundation to apply what was in my head to the real world. Television played a major role in my development. For some reason, the way things are acted out or sung or communicated on television allowed me to apply things to daily life. But learning how to apply what I saw on television to my daily life took a lot of practice. For example, my first attempt at applying what I saw in television to the real world came in the form of being asked if I wanted something to eat. My mind isolated the word eat and decided to parrot back a Dairy Queen ad that I just heard. Hot eats, cool treats, Dairy Queen, we treat you right. That's how I would interact with people in the world around me. My mother also told me a story about when I stopped her in the middle of a parking lot in the Safeway because I wanted to identify all the brands of all the cars in the parking lot. Ford, GMC, Cadillac, as I called it back then. However, one thing is really clear here. It was all contingent on me recognizing what I had seen on television. During my early intervention sessions, people would try to assess whether I actually could read or just recognize logos that I saw on television. For example, with the Ford logo, they would completely change the font, take away the blue shield, put it in the blockiest words imaginable, and I couldn't read it. I couldn't identify it. As far as I was concerned, they were as alien as Klingon words. And at that point, I couldn't read Klingon either. But as I continued to watch Star Trek The Next Generation, I began to understand the connection with what I had seen on television and how to use it in the real world. And it all happened because of Captain Jean-Luc Picard. I attribute a lot of my ability to speak to Patrick Stewart and his portrayal of Captain Picard. As a trained Shakespearean actor, he enunciates so well and so methodically that it gave me the foundation to talk. For example, one of my earliest memories was me practicing the way Patrick Stewart said, "Counselor Troy." That simple exercise taught me how to enunciate words that were more than a single syllable. Once my mother realized my connection to Star Trek, we ran with it. Everything we ever did was done in Star Trek talk. For example, whenever our family went anywhere in the car, I would stand outside the car and ask my mom in the words of Mr. Spock,
"Permission to come aboard."
And if it was time to get in the car, my mother would say,
"Permission granted."
The success of this interaction set the foundation for what I call my social matrix. It is the mechanism by which I examine the world around me, and then I analyze what I'm seeing by comparing it to something that I've already seen in the form of television or movies, and I model my behavior based off of what those characters do in that situation, expecting a similar result. And Star Trek laid the foundation for my social matrix. Whenever I had to give a speech in class, I channeled Picard. Whenever I needed to figure out how to avoid a meltdown, I channeled Data. Whenever it came to dating, well, I attempted Kirk, but I think he does it better. He does it way better than I did. I can talk for hours about this, folks. I've even debated creating either my own YouTube series or writing my own memoir about how my social matrix works and how it's developed over the years. If you are interested in either of those things, please let me know in the comments below. It would really mean a lot to me. Many decades after my original diagnosis, I'm happy to say that I was not institutionalized by the time I was 14 years old. I went to college. I have a master's degree in American history. I teach history at an inner-city high school in my home state. I'm also a public historian in which I research, design, and in some cases build museum exhibits all across my home state. I have also designed my own unique curriculum for social studies, tailor-made for people on the autistic spectrum. It's available through the link below. Here's also a glimpse of my store if you're interested. And as I look back on it all, I'm happy to say that Star Trek has not left me. In 2016, my wife and I were invited by J.J. Abrams to attend the Star Trek 50th anniversary celebration. We toured the set of the U.S.S. Enterprise from the J.J. Abrams Kelvin era. We hung out with Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, and Carl Urban. And then, something very special as a Trekkie, we attended a dedication in honor of Leonard Nimoy on the Paramount lot. No matter the situation, Star Trek stays with me. It's the foundation of my social matrix. Although I channeled Data a lot as a kid, as an adult I channel Picard more than anybody else. Whether it's handling a fire drill or sitting in an uncomfortable meeting with an angry parent, Picard always knows what to do, so I always mimic Picard. You could say it's come full circle. I created this channel in late 2020 as a platform for me to explain my unique perspective on Star Trek, while also using Star Trek as a teaching tool for people to understand the finer points of professional historical analysis and psychological analysis. So, my dear viewer, as this video winds down, I would like to extend a formal greetings, e komo mai, which is Hawaiian for welcome, and nuhne, for those of you who speak Klingon. Glad to have you here, and looking forward to our adventures in the future. Live long and prosper. E malama pono, that's Hawaiian for be safe, be healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed that video. With that in mind, if you have an idea for another journey through the space-time continuum, please let me know in the comments. The interesting thing about time is you can go in many different directions, forwards, backwards, and sideways in time. So, let me know in the comments what course you want us to plot, and we will go there, either in the next video or a couple videos from now. Either way, glad to have you aboard. So, live long and prosper, e malama pono, that's Hawaiian for be safe, be healthy, and see you next time.